Hi everybody! Today we're going to make some floating shelves. The really cool thing about floating shelves is the fact that they float. They seem to be attached to the wall with nothing. With a little bit of trickery and some cleating, we're going to make that happen. So let's get started.
Well, the first order of business was to take out the old shelves. And in this guest bathroom, we had some pretty crappy looking bracket hung shelves that were left over from the previous owners of the house. But they lived here about 20 years ago. So I figured it was time to put in some new shelves now, especially after one of the old shelves fell off of the bracket and hit me in the head. So there were some molly bolts left over from the demolition. So I decided to test the strength of them to see if they would make the grade, see if they'd hold up the shelves and anything that we decided to put on them. So I took my water cooler and filled it with water and tested the strength of the molly bolt by hanging the cooler from it. It weighed exactly 16 pounds, and I figured that was going to be more than enough strength to handle anything that we would be putting on the shelves. And so we decided that it would be okay to just use the molly bolts and not really worry that much about trying to affix the shelf cleating system into the studs of the wall. So we used the molly bolts that were already there. The next order of business was to get the material that we would build the shelves out of, and that was a door. Yes, that's right, a door. A quick trip to my favorite home improvement center, and $26 later, and I had exactly what I needed, a Luan mahogany hollow core door. I chose this product for several reasons. Cost. It's very, very easy to work with. It's versatile. It looks good. And did I mention cost? Very inexpensive. I highly recommend this product. So the first thing that we needed to do was to section the door. So we ripped the door first using both of the long outer edges of the door so that we could take advantage of the two factory prepared edges on the shelves. And then we cross-cut the ripped edges of the door to get the actual shelves. So we used the table saw to rip and cross-cut the door. So we were absolutely sure to make sure that we practiced good shop safety, and we always wore our personal protective equipment, because those Luan doors are quite dusty when you rip and cross-cut them. So you could wear just a dust mask, but I actually wore a respirator and certainly my eye protection. And because we were using the table saw, and even if I'd been using the my cross-cut saw, I would have made absolutely sure I had the hearing protection on. So besides making sure that we had the right blade in our table saw, one of the things that we did to prevent tear out, or at least to help to prevent the tear out when cross-cutting the door, was to apply some masking tape to the cut line. And then we cross-cut right down the middle of the tape. And it really did a good job for helping us to prevent excessive tear out. There was a little bit, but it was so minimal, it really isn't noticeable unless you're actually looking for it. So after the rip and the crosscut, you're left with a piece that looks a lot like this. The hollow core is reinforced with some glued particle board, and it's pretty easy to get that stuff out of your way for the one outer shelf edge that we'll still need to add for the additional support, and for the cleat that we're going to use to fix the shelf to the wall. So since we only have two factory edges on the shelves, we're going to have to create the third outer edge ourselves, the third outer edge that will face outward on the shelf, because the fourth edge will receive the cleat. So in order to make room for that edge, we ripped first and then cross-cut a piece of poplar to fit into that gap, and there's a little bit of wood glue and some brad nails, and that really did the trick. The wood glue that I use nearly all of the time is Titebond 2. I really like it because it's slow to set up initially, and it gives you enough time to work with your glue up. But it has a great tacky quality to it whenever you first apply it to the wood. So your piece doesn't slip on you as much when you're preparing to clamp or brad nail the piece after applying the glue. And I also like its versatility. It's water resistant, which makes it great for outdoor projects, and it's FDA approved for food contact. So it's great for that in-grain cutting board that you've been dying to make. So it's a very versatile glue. I really like it, and so that's the glue that I typically use whenever I'm in the wood shop. So after gluing and brad nailing the third edge to the shelf, it's time to prep the shelves for the cleat that will hold the shelves to the wall. So to do this, we need to push in all of the rest of the particle board support material that would be in the way of the cleat that is currently on the inside of the door or the inside of the shelf. Now again, this stuff is pretty easy to push out of your way, but if it does get a little bit stubborn, some light pressure with a wood chisel should do the trick. If you're not advanced in the woodworking, you don't have wood chisels, just a regular square head screwdriver should do the trick as well. Just anything that you can poke down in there and just get that particle board material to release from the inner surface of the door so that you can get the cleating system in there. So just be sure to clear out enough material to make room for your cleat. I didn't tear the stuff out of the door. I just pushed it deeper down into it to help to add some support to the shelf, but also to give me less stuff to have to worry about throwing away. So we aren't going to use any fancy cleating system for our door, like a French cleat or anything like that. We're just going to use a piece of poplar that's about 1 by 1, making sure that it's a snug fit for the interior thickness of the shelf. But here's the key. Make sure that you leave at least 1 inch of play on either side of the shelf cleat, leaving yourself enough wiggle room so that it will make life much easier for you when you have to align your shelves. That's going to make that process that much easier. Now, being somewhat of a pessimist, mostly because I was hit in the head by a falling shelf the week before, I decided to add a couple of styles to the shelf cleat. It was nothing really fancy, just a mortise and tenon joint with a 3-inch piece of leftover cleating material. And I figured that this would give me a little bit more support for the shelf and a little bit more surface area for gluing the shelf to the cleat. So I just affixed those to the cleat, and you can see them there. There's 2 per shelf cleat. So hopefully it gives the extra little bit of support that we think that we might need, and will give us some additional surface area to glue the shelf to the actual cleat. So after fixing the cleats to the wall, it was time to dress the sides of our shelf. So remember, we only have the 2 factory sides of the door that are a part of our shelving system right now, and then the third side that was a piece of poplar that we added to the shelf ourselves and then glued, and Brad nailed it. But the bottom line is that it doesn't look that good. And so in order to dress those sides a little bit, we decided to use the Luan veneer material from the door. So we ripped the length of the door, pulled it apart from the connective material, the particle board material that is used for support on the actual door, and then just cut it to size and dressed the outer edges of the shelf with that material, and it made for a very nice touch rather than having to look at those factory edges after we hung our shelves on the wall. So with the dressed sides, it was time for the dry fit, and nailed it. Everything fit perfectly, so it worked out this time. So on to the stain. Plain and simple. Minwax medium gloss polyurethane. I thought about using a lacquer finish, but I decided I wanted the durability of a polyurethane, and since it was going to be in a bathroom, it's a shower area, potential high humidity area, and also since various and sundry things will be moved on and about the shelves on a daily basis, I figured that polyurethane was probably the best way to go. And so 4 or 5 coats, honestly, I can't remember, but that did the trick for it. I think 5 coats is enough of it, and the polyurethane is certainly durable enough to be able to stand up to anything that is on the shelf. So after the finish had cured and the shelves were ready to be hung, I applied glue to the upper and lower surface of the first cleat and the inside surfaces of the shelf opening, and then slid the shelf on. Then 6 brad nails, 3 on top and 3 on the bottom, and the shelf was fastened securely to the shelf cleat. And despite using brad nails, I decided to wait 24 hours before putting anything on the shelf, even though nothing weighed nearly as much as my 16-pound water cooler. And voila, everything that we wanted to put on the shelf was on the shelf, and nothing fell down.
That's all there is to it. Easy peasy. Thanks for watching.